Hey there, listener. So, the beginning of this podcast is going to start a little bit weird than the normal because while we were recording, a power outage happened and the file got corrupted. So, you're stuck with me. Sorry, guys. Anyway, it's no big deal. We only talked about Persona 3 Reload. We only talked about Darkest Dungeon and how Matt returned it and Scott got all angry. We talked about Overwatch and Cowboy Bebop coming to it. It's okay, but the bulk of it you're going to get here. So, here we go. Cue the music.
And talk about something that I think is like our third or fourth week in a row. I guess it's a new segment. It's the Scott's Last of Us segment. So Scott, since we last chatted, I believe like we already talked about he beat Last of Us 1. Since we last chatted, he played the DLC for Last of Us 1 and he has started Last of Us 2. So let's check in with good old Scott here live on the scene. How is Last of Us going, bud?
All right, guys, we had a good run. Are you ready for us to get canceled?
Oh, all right.
Oh, you gonna go all in on it, huh? Okay.
I'm going. I remember when Last of Us 2 came out a couple years ago. I don't know. There seemed to be a lot of people who liked it, but all you heard about was like the game getting shitted on. Guys, I am officially on team shit on the game.
Team poop.
But here's the thing, and I'm going to use Star Wars as an example. What was the Last Jedi, whatever it was called, the second one. The reason people shitted on that movie, like the vocal people, the people that everybody talked about online, they had really bad reasons for shitting on that movie. And it made me feel bad because I also thought the movie was like diarrhea in visual form.
It was.
But not for any of the super racist, misogynistic, like really shitty reasons the other people were going for. It was just legitimately a bad movie. Had so many inconsistencies, so many like that makes no sense. Like in a logical standpoint, like why would a person make that fucking decision? That is exactly how I'm feeling currently about The Last of Us Part 2. Like I am not liking it. But first off, like the whole transsexual stuff people are doing about Abby, that was really shitty. Like one, Abby is pretty obviously not a transsexual. If she was a transsexual, that shouldn't justify how shitty people are being back there. So first off, don't think I'm in that camp. Those people are shitty people. I want nothing to do with you. So
and real quick,
unfortunately, we still both we both think the game is shitty. But hi, Matt. But
for context, for me, I actually have not played The Last of Us 2. So this is a character in the game, Abby. And the people that are crapping on her, this is in game, or these are people that are mad about the game?
Mad about the game.
We're not talking in game. We're talking.
There are people that don't like Abby in the game, sure, but that's for completely other reasons.
That's what I want to know.
Reasons.
That's what I want to know. Are we talking story in the game or just angry racist white people?
So did you not know anything about when it launched and all the backlash and everything?
I knew a lot of people were mad, and I thought a lot of that was just like, oh, they're mad because there's probably some form of minority featured, either like lesbian, black, transsexual. I figured it was just something, not a white dude. So people were mad. That's the kind of gist that I got, but it sounds like it might be a bit more, but I was just curious if we're talking story in the game or just idiots on the internet. It sounds like idiots on the internet. That's what I needed to know. So Scott, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Thank you for clarifying for me.
And it's funny you mentioned the lesbian thing too, because while there is some parts in there is like, all right, this is a little bit on the nose. This is a little bit like, okay, maybe a little much. I don't think it's a bad game for that reason too, but it is a very like lesbian, like heavy game. Like spoilers, Matt, both of the lead characters are both lesbians, which I think is unprecedented in video games. That's not the problem at all either. My problem, you know what? We're going to get a little bit out of order right now. We're doing the Scotty Porta Potty rant right now.
Look over there, he just doesn't care. He's going off on a crowd of people, throwing words in the air like he just don't care. He's yelling at all of us sheeple. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant.
Potheads. That's right. I'm talking about you. If you want to toke up now and then, sure, why not? Whatever helps you relax. Nobody cares that you smoke pot, though. Don't wear these stupid fucking Bob Marley shirts. Don't wear your stupid marijuana leaf accessories everywhere. I don't give a shit that you smoke marijuana. Actually, I do give a shit because it smells. It smells fucking terrible. And you actually think we like it. You can't open a fucking window. You think everybody likes the smell of skunk, of BO everywhere? No. And you know what, Last of Us? Who the fuck was the pothead on your team that really thought it was a good idea to go and have bongs and pot farms everywhere in a post-apocalyptic society? It is stupid. We don't care that you like smoking weed. Screw you, and thank you. God bless the United States of America. All right, back to the game. The marijuana stuff. It's just like, why? Like, it really does. It's so forced, and it's made such a focal point of the game. It's just awkward. And I also historically do not like split point of view games. I mean, there's some games that do it right. So far, I don't think Last of Us Part 2 is doing it right. It's just very jarring, and I don't like it. And I can keep bitching all day long. And these next two are very, like, I guess, minor gripes, but still things that I'm having a hard time getting over is how back to being, like, almost a first world society things are in the beginning of the game based off what you've seen of the world in The Last of Us Part 1. Granted, in The Last of Us Part 1, the area that is kind of like civilized again, they kind of teased it like, oh, this is a good place to be at. But just the level of how much they have their shit together is just like, this seems really inconsistent with everything else you've shown that's going on in the world in the first game. I don't really like this. And then finally, Ellie is just not really an appealing character anymore. She was like literally one of the driving forces of the first game. She was like so wholesome, so sweet, and you wanted to protect her, you wanted to see her story through, and now she's kind of an asshole. I mean, she is. She's a foul-mouthed kind of dick, and it's like, all right. I mean, this isn't really doing anything for me, but whatever. But I'm still gonna finish the game. I dropped $60 on it, so I gotta get the money out of it somehow. And the combat is great. And for no other reason, I appreciate the existence of The Last of Us Part 2 because it made the combat in The Last of Us Part 1 remake better. But yeah, it's just one of those things where in comparison to how good the first game was, I'm so far like feeling really, really bummed out about it. But maybe things will turn around. Maybe it'll turn into a great game still. In my opinion, I know some people. I think Mike really, really liked the game, and more power to him.
Oh,
Not saying
I'm on your team here.
Are you now? All right, Mike. There we go.
Yeah, so it's funny. So Ellie really wasn't sweet in the first game. It was just that she had an innocence still about her, right? Like she still had some of that innocence. And in Last of Us Part 2, I was okay with her not having that because, I mean, she grew up with Joel, who is a bastard, right? Like he's not a good dude. That's the whole point, right? That was her surrogate father, essentially. So it's like, I get that part. And it's funny that, like, I remember the weed thing being there, and I was like, maybe this is because I'm from Humboldt, and I'm just used to this stuff. But I was like, this is dumb. I agree with you. It was 100% forced. It was like, why is this here? Okay. But I don't remember it being that prevalent of a part at the beginning. But I have really bad news for you, Scott. So
oh, no.
we talked about how you and I are very in sync with a lot of this stuff. I went from, I think you might like it like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I think you're going to leave this at like a 2 out of 10. And those 2 points are probably literally just what your statement was, that it made the Part 1 remake better. As far as that stuff, it just gets. You'll see. My big problem with it, like you, right? I thought it was so stupid. Originally, people were very angry with Joel. I'm assuming you've gotten to that part.
No spoilers. Thanks a lot.
I didn't
Mike.
spoil anything for you, but that if I just say Joel, that part. If you've gotten to there, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't gotten to there, you won't know. So you are at the very beginning of the beginning of the game.
I just got to the lesbian sex scene while they're smoking weed. And yes,
You
Matt,
are
that
at
is the thing.
the beginning of the beginning of the game. So I think the split view will grow on you. I think ultimately you're not gonna like it ultimately, but I think you'll like it a lot more. Okay, Abby, I don't get why people hated on Abby. And Laura Bailey, who's the voice actress for Abby, she received a lot of harassment originally, like so much harassment, but where she drew the line was like her family, some of her family started getting harassment. And I'm like,
that's shitty.
And I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you people? Just stop. Go out. Quit playing games. Go do something else. Get off the internet.
You know what's kind of weird? I like Abby. I mean, she's not like my favorite character ever, but like I enjoy playing as her a lot more than Ellie right now. I think personality-wise, combat-wise, like I actually go into fights. I'm like, I could shoot this dude, but I'm just gonna fuck him up with my fists instead. And it's so satisfying. It's like she's a fucking beast, and it's great.
Yes, and she's actually probably the most consistent character throughout the entire game, which tells you something. You're going to. I hated the last segment of the game. You might quit. You might just go look it up. It's like I have a feeling. I hope I'm wrong on this. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. My issues with it are kind of what you're saying. They forced a lot of things into the game to prove points, whereas in the first game, they presented a lot of things, and then from that, the players could kind of debate, like, oh, well, I think that was right. Well, why was that right? Well, yeah, like it was kind of up for kind of like the real world, right? Like it's up for interpretation with a lot of things. It's not black and white. In this, they have a very clear message, Scott. And you've already seen that message, and it's only going to get worse. So you'll see what I mean. I'm really sad now. I'm kind of over here happy because I'm like, yeah, I'm not alone, but oh my goodness, you're not starting in a good spot.
Man, I'm glad I haven't played this game. Hot dang. Okay. Well, there you go. Last of Us. Hey, anyone listening to this, if you have thoughts about Last of Us 2, you like it, you hate it, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. All right. I want to give it to Mike here because there was a tweet that came out by Phil Spencer. I want to quote the tweet here. I want to hear Mike's thoughts on this one. Okay. Phil Spencer, who's like the head of like Xbox, basically, right? Yep. Says, "We are listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned." Mike, take it.
So I think it's very timely. We just talked about how this could be the year of Xbox. They came out with their developer thing, which had some really big hitters there. It looked good. PlayStation ain't got anything coming out really this year except for Final Fantasy VII, and Square Enix is shoving that down everybody's throat. Nintendo really doesn't have a whole lot this year because they're gearing up for their next system. This could be it, right? And when this episode releases, we're going to probably be hearing very soon from our good old boy Philly Spencer. So apparently a whole bunch of leaks were coming out. So we kind of briefly talked about how Hi-Fi Rush was going to be going to other platforms, including Switch and PlayStation now. That Sea of Thieves was going to be coming to other platforms. We only heard of Switch, don't know about PlayStation. That games like Starfield now are being leaked, that after they when they release the big DLC or something, I don't know what it is, that it will go multi-platform and become available on PlayStation 5. And there are now rumors, which part of me is like, oh dude, if this comes out on the next Switch, I might actually get it on it, is that the Gears of War series would be going multi-platform. And that's a very good chance that it might end up on the Switch successor. Like, not streaming, not Game Pass, like some kind of collection. And I'm like, That's kind of cool, actually. I love Gears of War. So all of this is coming out, and now we have that tweet that you just said, that Phil Spencer, and apparently, I don't know if this is true, apparently he was playing Diablo 4 when he tweeted that out. Like, somebody who's, like, in the know or friends with him or something, when that went out, he was playing Diablo 4.
I mean, it could have been a scheduled tweet or something, but that is
Yeah,
funny.
It's still funny, even if it was scheduled. It was like, I know that tweet is going to go out at this time. I'm going to go play some Diablo 4 so I don't have to pay attention to everybody yelling at me. Anyway, maybe he's the real Lilith, right? So I wanted to talk about this because I am not, first and foremost, console tribalism is dumb. I think we can all agree on that. It is dumb. We have our preferences. That is not tribalism. That is not going hard for a company and saying, like, you're my friend. I feel like Phil Spencer and the Xbox behind the scenes, they've become very chummy with a lot of gamers, with their fan base, right? And even reaching into others like Nintendo fan base, right? Like, oh, they have such a good relationship. At the end of the day, they're a business. They don't give a shit about you, okay? They don't care about you. They don't care about me. What they care about is money and making more money. Microsoft is a, 3 trillion? 4 trillion? Trillions of dollars, all the money. They're rich, okay? They're rich. For various reasons, not Xbox. Xbox is their weakest thing, one of their weakest things. What's worrisome about this whole thing, do either of you know when Microsoft develops something that could be cool, there could be an upside, but it's risky, right? It's new. When it doesn't immediately take off, what do they do with it? Any guesses? You could guess this. Like, do you remember, I think they did HoloLens. Do you remember HoloLens? No? That's because as soon as they do something like that and it doesn't succeed where they want, it's out. They're kind of like Google. Google does the same thing too. Understandable, whatever. Xbox is just not, and Spencer has even said in an interview, this is recorded, we lost the most important generation. And I always wondered what he meant by that. And he's talking about the Xbox One and the PS4, right? The PS4 just destroyed the Xbox One as far as sales, and bunch of people moved. I mean, all of us were 360 people, right? Like, we were hardcore 360 dudes. Matt and I jumped like almost immediately. Like, we went to PlayStation 4, and that's one of my all-time favorite systems ever. Scott stayed on with the Xbox One kind of out of spite, for a lot of reasons. But even Scott now has a PlayStation 5, right? And I always wondered, what did he mean by that? And he said, it's because that's when digital libraries started to become a really actual viable market for these companies, for console companies. And so everybody's got their library on the PlayStation 4. So why would they switch back to an Xbox Series? If they built up this digital library, they built up all these games on their PlayStation 4 just to start over again on an Xbox, right? And I went, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And that also starts to make me think that's why Nintendo has been so cagey with their next system, but they've been very upfront saying, no, our online ecosystem, we moved to this new one so that now this is it moving forward. Like, they've been very vocal about that. And I thought, that's really weird for Nintendo because their online playing kind of sucks, right? Why would they focus on that? That's the big deal. So what worries me about this is that if Xbox, it's not that, oh, PlayStation wins or Xbox loses. I don't care about that. We've said it before in every other topic. Competition is a good thing. It's a good thing. If Xbox backs out and just puts their games on everything, yes, that's better for the consumer, for all of us, right? Like, we get to, you get to play these awesome games on your PlayStation, Matt, without having to play on PC or go. You don't have an Xbox. You're not going to get an Xbox. You don't have a need to, right? Scott can keep his Xbox. He can keep his old 360 games. I can play my 360 games on my Series X. I find value in that. But now, PlayStation can go this whole year with nothing on the horizon except for Helldivers 2 and Foam Stars. And they're still sitting pretty. They're still going to make boatloads of money. They can be arrogant now with like no repercussions. My only saving grace in this is that maybe if people get cranky with PlayStation, they just start going PC. And now I think that would end consoles, except for like Nintendo's going to Nintendo, so who knows what they're going to do. I'm not including them in this conversation. They're not part of this. What do you guys think? Like, I'm worried in that aspect purely.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Getting Game Pass on everything and all that, I don't have any problem with that. So what do you guys think?
To be 100% honest, and this isn't a spite thing, but just kind of like what you said, if Microsoft announced that like Xbox Series X, this is our last generation of hardware, Game Pass on everything, I'd probably just go out and drop like $3,000 on a really, really good gaming PC rig, and that'll probably be my gaming hardware in the future. But now I'm not really bitter at Microsoft doing this. So like Mike said, they both were the PlayStation camp, the last generation. I was very much in the Xbox camp. I did have a big chip on my shoulder against PlayStation with the way they treated fans with the PlayStation 3. But you know what? To any of the fanboys out there, as disgusting of a suggestion this may be to you, just buy all the consoles. Unless you're like, 15-year-old just shit posting online, like you can afford to get each one of the consoles. And you know what? You'll get a new appreciation for them. You'll realize that like maybe the other side isn't that bad. Maybe they have some good things about it, because I like my Series X. I like Game Pass on it. I like my PlayStation 5. I love all those PlayStation exclusives. I love Nintendo and the weird ass shit Nintendo likes to do. But if you look at the Xbox, again, I'm a huge Xbox fan. Love the Xbox. Have owned an Xbox in one form or the other for the last 15 plus years. Xbox is a unicorn as far as the legacy of Microsoft is concerned, what Microsoft is all about. Just break down what Microsoft's name is. Microsoft. What do you think the soft stands for? Software. They are a software company. They have Windows. Windows right there. They're raking in money with Windows. They're raking in money with AI. With like even their ERP system is one of the biggest in the world. Business Central. Like they are a software company. All their other hardware ventures, the Zune, the Surface, even though they still stick around Surface, it's not doing too hot. But like everything else they ever got into hardware-wise that failed, they just dropped. The Xbox is like the one weird thing that they have kept going with. They are a very distant third right now by pure console sales. And it's really interesting. They don't go and announce their console sales anymore, but they do announce every month what their subscription numbers are for Game Pass. I think if they get out of the hardware business, it's not a down, but not out moment. Like, I think if anything, they will go and reach new heights. I'm going to say right now, hot take. If they get out of the hardware business this year, they will be more profitable than they will ever have been by this time next year. If they get games on the Switch, on PlayStation, and they're going to drop their, objections to it if they're out of the hardware business, I guarantee you. And if they go and start putting all of their library on these other consoles, they're going to make more money than they have ever dreamed that they could make. And the really crazy thing is, I'm pretty sure Microsoft was the biggest third-party publisher before any of this news broke out. Assuming that they go and announce they're going to put stuff on other consoles, they're already probably the biggest third-party publisher out of all video game studios. I mean, probably Activision Blizzard beat them before, but hey, now they own Activision Blizzard. They have Minecraft. Minecraft prints so much money for them. They have all of these massive studios they've already owned. Like, I believe they are one of, like, I think Minecraft is like one of the highest selling games on the Switch. So technically they're like one of Nintendo's biggest first party
I don't
studios,
doubt
which
it.
is so, it's just, I don't know. I not saying kill the Xbox. If the Xbox sticks around, I'll continue to support it. If they kill it though, I'll be like, makes sense. And I can still play Gears of War on my PlayStation 5 or my super souped up gaming PC. I'm fine. I can live with it. Life goes on.
I wonder if they move this route where they are a software focused route. And I read a lot of the comments on that initial tweet from people, and a lot of them were just like, you're letting Sony win. You're letting Sony get away with their current practices. And
Are they winning though?
it depends on what you define winning is, I guess. I'm just telling you, this is
money.
this is what fans, quote unquote, are stating. And we've talked about this on past podcasts, which is whatever system seems to be in the lead is the one that kind of is the biggest dick, because Microsoft was a dick on the 360 during the 360 time. And now they're being chummy, buddy, because like Scott said, there's now money on the table and they've seen it and they're not winning the hardware thing. And if hardware sales are essentially at a loss, because if I recall, most hardware for video gaming is at a loss. They make it up with kind of the game sales. If they move, unless you're Nintendo, if they move into that platform, I agree with Scott, they're going to print money. And as someone who doesn't own an Xbox, but owns a PC and owns a PS5, this only benefits me if this is the reality in which they are going. And it's not even confirmed that they're getting out of the hardware business. That's just everyone reading between the lines that may or may not even exist. So I'd be curious to see if that is truly where they're going, or if it's more like, hey, we're just putting more games and more things. Like, we just, no, we're going to have our Xbox. We're just putting more games and more things. They're still going to make money off of that. And I'm inclined to think that's what they're doing versus staying away from the hardware business. Maybe it's out of like, well, we've been fighting this battle for so long, we can't cut it. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. But either way, it benefits pretty much anyone that doesn't already own an Xbox. And those that have an Xbox doesn't change very much what's going on for you. So for me, I'm like, cool, bring it on. But I think what exactly will happen if they truly do get out of the hardware business is exactly what Scott said. They're going to get a gaming PC. I'm not a PC gamer. I have a really nice PC. I am playing more and more games on it, mainly because people keep giving me stuff. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. But it plays almost anything except truly exclusive games. And even PlayStation is shipping some of their games to PC. So I don't really have a dog in the fight. I don't really have more to add. I think you guys covered a whole lot of it. And I personally don't think they're going to move away from hardware. I think it's just more, put more games on more platforms because money. That's what I think is going to happen. And I have really nothing else to add to that one. Mike, you're the one that really wanted to drive this one home. Any other thoughts on this one before we move on?
Yeah, I guess I should have prefaced. We don't know what he's going to announce, right? Like, we're kind of led to believe, and the leaks that were earlier this year, or I guess last year maybe, about the infamously adorably all digital Xbox console that's going to be coming out. And like, so again, I have like 99% of this. I have no problem with this. I think like you guys stated it perfectly, where Microsoft's not going away and the Xbox brand is not going away. It's not. It's just not going to. It's just going to be a more successful Sega is what it's going to be.
I almost brought up Sega as like, well, are they successful? Who knows?
They have hits like, like a little shout out, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth got to 1 million already, baby. Woo! Excited about that.
So many Yakuza games.
And they're all great. That's a good Sega, but I'm just worried because I've already seen this pattern with Sony, and it seems like internally Sony is a dumpster fire. Like the little glimpses that we've gotten, a little tidbits of things that kind of leaked out that we were like, you doing okay there, Sony? Like Jim Ryan's leaving, all that, like just stuff does not seem good in there. And then mixed with like this year, like we don't really have anything Sony exclusive, right? And I'm just like, I really hope something keeps them in check. I don't care. Maybe crazy things have happened and Nintendo gets back into the cutting edge technology somehow, right? And they keep them in check. Or maybe PC, Steam keeps PlayStation in check, right? as long as there's competition there, I'm cool. That's all I want, right? With any of them. I don't want Nintendo winning, or I want them to win, but then I want the competitors to kind of punch them back, whoever they are.
I mean, this could be a topic. This could be a topic for another day, but in all honesty, do you think consoles are going to exist 10 years from now? Do you think basically everything that will be left for video game will be cell phone, streaming directly to your television, or PC? Do you really think there's a future for consoles with the way the world is going? Like, yeah, PlayStation quote unquote won, but did they just win a dying field? I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty meaty topic, and maybe some other day. But me, like, I always say that I think Microsoft is a very smart, forward-thinking company, and I think that they are positioning themselves well for not necessarily gaming today, but gaming 10 years from now.
Yeah, getting the jump on it, maybe.
Be ahead of the curve there.
Who knows? You know what I don't want to happen? All these gaming companies to become like the streaming company.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Where you're playing your game and like, hey, you beat a chapter. Watch this ad.
Or you beat the chapter, but the next chapter is actually over on PlayStation, or it's on the PC.
No.
Like, no. That
Mike,
might
if
be
this
my exit
happened-
out. That might
if this
be my exit
happens,
out.
I'm blaming you entirely if this happens. Okay. There's really one last thing that I want to chat about. I think Mike does as well, but I want to give Scott the floor. Scott, any other gaming thoughts you want to toss at us before we move on to our final topic?
No.
Perfect. Thank you for your contribution. I want to talk about something pretty big going on in Bauer's life. One, right now, YouTube Shorts are blowing up. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, go check out their shorts. If you're listening on the podcast, go check out the shorts. He's making some really cool stuff. So there's a bud plug for the bud here. One thing I did want to talk about with you, Mike, is you have decided to stop streaming on Twitch. Not like forever, but indefinitely, likely. Potentially you're done, but your shorts have been doing well. You've been focusing on that. I think it's a good time to kind of chat about maybe streaming stuff a little bit. And possibly next week, we might dive into more of a content creator type discussion, which I think would be fun. But I want to give Mike the floor to kind of talk about that, maybe close on that subject and potentially be a segue into next week's topic.
Yeah. And so it's really funny. And I think this will be a good topic because of where the three of us are in this. Well, let's just say streaming content creation, right? Where Scott is working to get started. I'm like in that middle, I was in that middle stale, not really going anywhere, not really feeling it anymore. And then you're kind of on the other end of that. It's kind of like a business, right? Like the beginning of the business is always like exciting, but very overwhelming. The middle of it, when they're trying to get when they just got to the middle size of it and they're trying to break, and it's almost always fails. But then those ones that don't fail, they get past it, and then it's another like, oh, here we go again. Like we're getting up there, right? Like Mr. 90 subs here from the other night, right? That was insane when you were like, I got 90 subs tonight. I was like, what? I didn't realize that was possible.
I didn't either when it happened. My brain melted.
So congrats on that. But I realized, so this all started, so, had a conversation with my family, and the long and the short of it was like, it just wasn't, they weren't feeling it. Okay. It wasn't, none of them told me like outright, like stop. Right. And even Chelsea has said like, yeah, I don't think you're done. And I'm like, no, I'm done. She's like, yeah, I don't think you're done. Right. So it's not a not support thing. They all support me, but I didn't like the vibe. Let's say that. I didn't like the vibe that was coming from all this. So it made me sit back and think like, okay, what am I getting out of this? And I realized I'm not really getting anything out of it anymore. And we'll talk about this more next week. Streaming is damn hard. People don't realize until you do it. And you even alluded to it earlier when you're like, I'm enjoying Persona 3 Reload probably more than Persona 5. That could be because I'm not streaming it. I'm willing to bet that's the reason why. Because you as the content creator, a live content creator, you are putting on a play in a way. Not to say like you're being fake or anything like that, but you are putting on a show. You have a schedule that you have to be on. You have to do it a certain amount of times a week in order to actually increase anything or grow anything. A certain amount of time. And you can't 100% focus on what's in front of you. The only time that you really get to that level is when you've made it, when you're big. I think of like Maximilian dude. I like watching him and his fighting streams, right? Like he was doing Tekken 8, which is, I'm really eyeballing that game now because of that.
It looks slick.
It looks so good and it looks so over the top that I'm like, this looks good. But he can just focus on that because he's got thousands and thousands of people talking. There's no way he's got to be disconnected in some way, right? So you could do that, but otherwise, it's a beast, man. It's tough. It's a whole different breed. And Matt, you can kind of speak on this a little bit more because I feel like for me, my outlet has always been the other stuff. Why I like this pod more, right? The editing. The doing that stuff, the cutting of things, making things, coming up with funny skits, things like that. I think you can attest to this too, that's like my creative, like I tend towards that, right? Like the pre-planned, well, what if we did this? Let's do that. Cut to this, add that music there, as opposed to live, all on the fly, dedicating that chunk of time.
Yeah. And like I said, we won't go too much in the weeds because likely we'll talk about this next week. But the short and sweet is while Mike is stopping, he's still going to be there. He's still going to be in this Discord. He's still putting out content, obviously doing this podcast with all of us. So he's still there and you guys should support him. So that's what you should do. The streaming thing is crazy. And for me, I think I work better in a live environment than I do like the pre-planned execution, just because I've always felt I've been pretty good with just ad-libbing, having conversations with people. I've been literally the reason I was hired into a youth pastor position over somebody that literally graduated from like theology school. I had no official biblical like education. They said, we hired you because of your relational skills. You are good at relating to people, engaging with them and chatting with them. That's why we hired you. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I've learned just from the business side, from the my past jobs, current jobs, on the personal side as well. Like I'm pretty good at chatting with people and just having a good time. And that's why live streaming works so well for me. And that's why I really enjoy it. But it's not to say there's not challenges and hard things. A recent example is there's a great game called King of the Castle. And that's a game I've learned I really need to give people like 2 weeks notice because that is a game so dependent on people being there. So we start the game and we have like 3 people, 4 people, I think 4 people, enough to play it. And I was so scattered that day that I lost the game in like 30 minutes. This is a game that needs to go like 2.5 hours. I lost it in 30 minutes. I'm like, wow, that sucks. Let's go play Sea of Thieves. we went and played Sea of Thieves, had a good time. But the live stuff is kind of hard. The way I have my stream set up is I don't see how many viewers I have. It's not even on my screen. Sometimes I'll click into it and if I'm looking at stats, because it's in my stats section where I kind of check my upload speed. I don't even look at the numbers for the most part, and that's helped quite a bit. But sometimes you're like, yeah, we're having a good time. I'll look at something like, oh, that's smaller than it was 5 minutes ago. So I try to keep that out of the way. So it is an emotional roller coaster to stream. and I get why people get burned out. At first, I'm like, how do you get burned out? This is so fun. And for me, my personality lends itself to it. I have a blast. I enjoy it. But it also makes you suck at video games. Oh my goodness. I replayed this thing in Spider-Man Miles Morales. Literally the very first sneaking mission, I couldn't beat it. I literally could not beat the first sneaking mission. It took me like 30 to 45 minutes. And one of my, long-term, he's a good guy. Yokai, shout out to him. He's like, Matt, I'm not going to lie. This is painful. I'm like, I know it really is. I'm sorry for being bad at this game. So I do need to be a bit more selective. All that rambling to say is I think it'd be a fun conversation down the road. I personally love it. I want to keep doing it. And I completely understand why Bauer is focusing his creative outlet on other things. I just think that's a fun conversation. And Scott, I hope none of this like really dissuades you from wanting to do it. It does a little bit, but just so you know, Mike and I can help you get there. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Let's move to
Quick shout out here. Quick shout out.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
will be really random. Quick shout out to Gooden, to good old Gooden. I got another one on my side with Death Stranding. But I feel like we traded. So I got him into Death Stranding and I joined his side with Marvel Midnight Suns.
You bought
Oh,
it.
good in.
Did you buy it?
Yes.
I bought it.
Good job.
I played the demo and I played it and then it ran out and I went, I gotta get it. I gotta buy this game. Scott, I don't know how you'd feel about the gameplay, but I think you'd like the Marvel stuff.
I think I would too.
It's
Good job, Gooden. Gooden, you like wrestling. You got Mike into that game. You ask about Matt's testicle. You're a good person.
Gooden is good for the pod. Friend of the pod. Well, that's
Official butt plug of the night.
You actually said butt on that
Yeah.
one. It sounded like
Gooden's the butt plug.
you
He's
had
so good. He gets to be the actual, not just the
the
rip
real
off.
thing.
Scott had butts on the mind for a reason. We'll talk about it
Mm-hmm.
later. Sorry, Mike. Go for it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it for tonight. A lot of random stuff that we talked about tonight. I'm like looking through here. Like talked about Persona. We didn't even get to Marvel Snap because why not? We didn't talk about Dave the Diver for once. Hey, Dave the Diver, it's great. You should play it. Fall Guy. I'm looking at all this stuff. We talked about Overwatch. That got me all excited and angry again with Bebop. Persona 3 Reload. Last of Us. Phil Spencer and Xbox. Content creation. We were like all over the place, dude. We were all over the place. Also, suck at Disney and suck at Disney Plus. I'm going to end it right there. We're going to move on from that fantastic statement to a fantastic segment. What is our favorite segment, Scott?
The brand.
The brand.
The brand.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to support the brand because that is quite frankly not enough. No, you need to go and support the Triple B cinematic content creating universe. That's right. Move aside, Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got a new king in town. You got to follow my man Mike, his YouTube channel. You got to go and keep track of his shorts. You got to follow Matt. You got to go and see whatever stupid game he is streaming on there. And of course, you got to hear the Buds, currently the exclusive home of Mr. Hero Mega Man X himself. Maybe streaming one day, who knows? But you got to go and continue to listen here as well, folks. But, whatever your flavor happens to be, enjoy it. As long as it's, flavor coming from us. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The brand.
The brand. And I know that Tara, another friend of the podcast, Tara is all about the brand. And Tara will tell us all about the brand. It's great. Oh, man. Okay, so now that you've heard enough about the brand, we have a viewer question.
I heard you had a question. So many questions. Why don't you ask your question and the Buds will bust an answer for you.
Now, this question is from number one Fallout fan. And this is to everyone. Have you watched the trailer for the Fallout show? Smiley face. And do you intend to watch it?
I'm really excited to answer this one. I'll start off. No and no. The end.
Wow.
I did see the trailer and really not knowing a whole lot about Fallout because honestly I didn't really enjoy the games. The world is super fascinating. There's a lot that they can play with. I know it's on Amazon Prime, so how I watch it, we'll find out because I don't have Prime. But honestly, it looks kind of good. I'd watch it.
And I'm the three of us. I'm actually the Fallout fan. I really like Fallout 3. Fallout 4 was fine. I like the Fallout universe for what you just said, Matt. Like the universe itself, the world, like everything, the post-apocalyptic stuff just grasps me. It just grabs me. And I was very skeptical about this. I was like, that's gonna be garbage. And that trailer looked really good. And it's got our boy Goggins. Walter Goggins. And I didn't recognize him. And then they showed him on the horse, and I was like, oh, he must be in the flashbacks. And then I realized that he's the dude without a nose. He's one of the I can't remember what they're called, the mutants basically in the series. I'm having a brain fart, and I was like, whoa, that doesn't look like him at all. That's cool. It looks really good.
It does look really good. And if you guys want to ask us anything, we have a link where we post all these videos and podcasts where you can it's a Google form, type whatever your question is. And if we like it, we'll ask about it. So, hey, shout out to that questionnaire that Scott made. You should go use it. Guys, that's it. We're done. Scott already did his rant, so we're not going to end with the rant. We're going to end with the goodbye. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Let us know your thoughts, comments on anything that we talked about. Put it in our Discord. Put it on YouTube. I don't think you can comment in podcast land, but you can go to Bauer's TikTok. He makes all the shorts out of it as well. So, yeah, come say hi. We love you guys. Have a good one. Smoochies. Mwah.
Bye.